Thank you, Sean. Thank you for everyone at Icon Coaching.
Simon, congratulations, man. You know what that is?
That's winning.
It's winning, baby. I love it when you're winning. That's fantastic.
I got 2 under contract, so that's like 2.8 million in 2 weeks.
You've got to take control of your production to make sure that you're making more money, your bank account balance is rising, that your net worth is increasing, and that's what we want to see happen.
So that they can save the listing.
Which I'm really, really thankful for, Sean. Thank you.
See everyone coming on board. Welcome to Icon Coaching's webinar.
Hey, welcome everyone to our webinar here at Icon Coaching. Guys, we have a really awesome experience for you today. And awesome is the only word that really comes to mind, no doubt about that. Before we just dive in, before I introduce our special guest today, and you guys are in for a serious treat, I do want to ask you a question, a couple of questions actually. First,
That full repair.
somebody, I want you to unmute yourself. And by the way, if you're in a noisy environment, go ahead and mute yourself. Yet in a moment, I'm going to ask somebody to unmute yourself. And I want you to tell me what color and how many sides are on a stop sign. Can somebody tell me just real quick, what color is a stop sign?
Red.
It's red. Fantastic. And how many sides to a stop sign are there? I'm not talking about front and back. I'm talking about how many angles?
8.
8. So it's an octagon. Fantastic. Okay, you're both right. Now tell me, what color is a yield sign?
Yellow.
Somebody
Red.
else. What color is
Red and white.
Red and white. It's
red and white? Okay. How many of you though immediately, just like Barry, thought, oh, it's yellow? How many of you immediately thought that? And then you had to think about it. What color is it actually? Guys, it is red. It's not yellow yet. I do this in a seminar environment. I'll have 1,000 people in the audience. So I say, what color is a yield sign? And they say yellow. Now keep in mind, every one of those people in the audience has a driver's license. You understand?
Oh no.
And yet, inevitably, everybody yells out all at the same time, yellow. No, it's red. They have a driver's license. Now, you have a real estate license. You have a social media license. And yet, what misconceptions are you buying into as it relates to social media? See, Michelle Berman, she is a social media expert. She is a guru in the space, you guys. She's a digital marketing expert. She's going to share with you strategy and tactic today that are actionable. Meaning, at the end of this call, she's going to give you 3 things, boom, 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 that if you did that, you're going to find more traction in your social media channels. Now, I know all of you are on social. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on this call. You wouldn't be showing up to this webinar if you weren't tinkering with social media channels, doing your best to figure out how to get traction. You wouldn't be here if you didn't want that in your business strategy. So since you're already on social, what Michelle wants to do, what I want to do today is bring massive intentionality to your interactions on social media. I know you're spending anywhere from an hour to some of you up to 5 hours a day on social media, yet are you doing it on purpose? That's what I want to know. And that's what Michelle's going to share with you, how to do it on purpose, how to create opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. So without any further delay, Michelle Berman Michael, guys, as I mentioned, she's a digital marketing genius. She helps thousands of agents increase their presence and their traction through social media channels. So without any further delay, Michelle, I want you to take it away. Let's start with your story. How'd you get into this? And why do you do what you do? Talk to us.
Yeah, well, first of all, just thanks for having me. And when you reached out and asked if I would be willing, I was like, absolutely, like 100%. Sean, I've known you now for, gosh, how long ago was it when we were introduced? Like 3 years, almost, something like that. Like it's been a long time. And so just the opportunity to be here and to support you is always an easy yes for me. So first of all, thank you. Secondly, I'll tell all the rest of you guys, for those of you guys who don't know who I am, my superpower is actually social prospecting. So I just want to be really, really clear on understanding what Michelle really does. Right. So, and we're going to talk a lot about the difference between a social media coach and a social media prospecting coach. I am not a social media coach. I'm a social media prospecting coach. And that's really important to understand the difference between those two things, because many of you, I would imagine, and we can use the chat. I do have it pulled up over here because I'm a super interactive teacher. I'm also overcoming what I think is laryngitis. So if I have to take a sip of water, that's likely why. So we're going to use the chat box a bunch today. And I want to know how many of you guys have ever taken a social media class, you've been on a webinar, maybe you've taken a free training, something like that, and you've tried to go do some of that stuff. Maybe you're still stuck where you're at. I would love to know. So comment in the chat. Rhett says me. By the way, Rhett, I love your name. One of my best girlfriend's son's name is Rhett, and it's such a fun name. Yes. Ron says yes. Who else? Kim says yes. Love it. Brianna says yes several times. All right, guys. Well, you're in for a treat because this is not a social media coaching webinar. I'm not going to teach you how to go viral. I do not care, right? I'm not going to teach you how to get more followers. I'm not going to teach you how to be worried about how many likes you have and how many video views you have. What I'm here to teach you is how to take the platform that you're already spending time on and turning it into something that will actually make you money. Right. And so that's really the big difference between what you have seen or heard of social and what the true actual value of the platform really is. So if any of you, thank you, Tawny, I think is your name. I love how you spell your name, by the way. Deborah says yes. So all of you guys are in the same boat, mostly, I would imagine. And what I can tell you is there is a better way. There is a better plan. There is a way to make sure that you don't just have a social content strategy, which is what most of you have, but you have a social conversion strategy. Very, very different.
Yes.
So,
Michelle, this is so important, guys. There are so many people out there that will teach you how to get likes, how to get shares, how to get comments and things like that. Guys, hear me on this. There is no plausible ROI on a like. There's no plausible ROI on a comment. Michelle is going to teach you exactly what to do with those likes and those comments to actually do business. And that's why we're here. So thank you, Michelle. I just wanted to underline what you had to say because that is such an important point of what you're going to bring to the table today. Thank you.
it really, really is. And I appreciate that because I don't want you guys to walk away from this saying, well, I've heard all of that before, right? Because if you have, then why am I here? I'm not here to do anything other than to reiterate what you already know. So my goal is to change your perception, have you guys think a little bit differently and see the light. One of my favorite messages I've ever gotten after a webinar was someone sent me a message on Instagram and said, Michelle, you give me hope because I'm an old dog that needs to learn new tricks. And you just you made me hopeful. Like you've made me feel like I can actually do that. And it was the best message, honestly. Like I could not have been happier with receiving something like that. And so I hope that all of you feel that. So it's really, really cool that you guys are here wanting to learn that. So the social media conversion formula, quote unquote, is really what we're going to be talking about today. My favorite way of describing this is, you guys know what virality means, right? Virality means we have a lot of followers, we're getting a lot of video views, we're getting a lot of likes, we're going viral. That is not what you're here to learn how to do. What you're here to learn how to do is how to utilize the content that you are producing and turn it into business. Simple. That's it, right? So before we get going, I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to connect with me through social if we're not already connected. That QR code will take you directly to my Instagram so you can start to consume my content there if that is of interest to you. The username right there, Burma Media Social, will also take you there, whatever you prefer to do, whatever the easier way of getting to me is. But I will give you guys just a second there for those of you guys that want to, and I will tell you, take pictures, take screenshots, tag me in your stories, send me a DM. I love it. I love being able to connect with people after my webinars because that means you're working on things, right? That means we're creating change. So it always makes me happy. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. And I'm going to start with this. I said this quote actually on a podcast and I didn't realize I was saying it until after. And then I was like, oh my gosh, that's so good, but yet so simple, right? Most of the time, the best things that we learn or the best phrases that we remember, right? Can be a little cliche sometimes, right? We kind of know that. But the reality is that they are sayings for a reason. They mean something and they get said all the time because it's true. So this is the simple sentence that I said that was so good. I felt like needed to be said here during our time together. So most professionals do not need more likes. They need more clients. It's really that simple. You don't need more likes. It doesn't matter if you get one. It doesn't matter if you get 100. What matters is, are you creating opportunity for yourself? Are you having conversations in your DMs every single day, whether that's on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook? Instagram is my platform of choice. I'll be very candid with you. However, I prospect on all three every single day. So yes, you can and you should in that capacity. So let's talk about the illusion of influence. This is something that is the framework of all of this. Go ahead, Sean.
Just real quick, Michelle, when you say all
Yeah.
three, are you talking about Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn or X?
Yeah.
Or
Nope, LinkedIn. Yeah. So what I'm saying, you should be prospecting on all three: Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Yeah.
perfect. Okay, just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, and by the way, Courtney's asking if there will be a replay. I do not know the answer to that question, but you'll have to get with Sean.
Yes, there will be a replay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So what I want to tell you guys before we get into this is, first and foremost, I could get on this webinar and I could tell all of you how to start prospecting on Instagram right now today. I could totally do that. And I'm not going to. And here's why. Because if your content isn't where your content should be, no matter how good you are at prospecting, it will not work, right? It will be like climbing Mount Everest. It's like trying to put the cart before the horse. You guys have ever heard that cliche saying, right? If your content isn't where it needs to be, then the content itself that you have isn't going to add value or create impact when you're actually trying to prospect. So I could get on this webinar and I could just show you my engagement tracker and teach you exactly who to be talking to each of the 5 days of the week and tell you how many people to message and do all of those things. But I would be doing you a disservice, because right now I would take a gander to say that 97% of you, and yes, I made that number up, but it's an educated guess, need to work on your content first. Why? Because I'll tell you why. Right now, your content is very likely developed or created with the intention of creating a transaction. Now, I recorded a video about this and I actually posted it yesterday. And if it ruffles some feathers, that's okay, right? I'm not here to make it all perfect roses and dandy, but I am here to tell you that there's got to be a better way to do what you've been doing. So if you create a piece of content, let's say you go record a video, let's say you do a drone video of a new listing you have, let's say you post a tour of your favorite new build community. You create that piece of content and you put it on Instagram, and in your mind, you tell yourself, if I post this, I will get a deal out of it. Or I hope that when I post this video, I will get a transaction out of it. If that is how you are thinking, you have already lost, because that is not what social is for, right? I'm not telling you not to post that type of content. I'm telling you have to shift your framing of how you deliver that content, right? So that's a big part of what we're going to talk about, because it is so important, because the consumer, the person actually consuming that piece of content on social, is going to feel that you're in it for the transaction and not for the connection. So the old model, new model. We're going to talk about the old model. We're going to talk about the new model. And the new model is really important, because if your content is built, designed, deployed with the intention of creating connection, please write that down for all my note takers. If your content is developed with the intention to and or to create connection, that's how we win. If I feel connected to you because we're going through something similar, something has happened to you that's also happened to me, you enjoy doing something that I also enjoy doing, all of the sudden, that drone video of a really cool new listing you have has a little more credibility to me, has a little bit more weight. It's more valuable to me. Why? Because I actually like you first. How simple is that? I got to like you first before I hire you to be my real estate agent. It's really that simple. So if you're creating content with the intention of transaction, you've already lost. If you create content with the intent of creating a connection with someone, that is how we win. And that is how that content we create that is educational, is valuable, is designed to create this understanding for a newer generation of buyer of how this process works, right? Probably one of the number one things I hear on calls right now, even in this last week, or even just a couple days, it's Wednesday, right? So even since Monday, Tuesday, is, Michelle, I want to add value. I want to educate. I really want to make sure that people feel like they understand how to buy a home, and that it's okay to buy a home right now, even though the interest rates are 6.2. Like, that's okay. It is okay to do that, right? So I hear this, but again, it's how we deliver it. It's done incorrectly. So that's where we're gonna spend most of our time, is trying to fix that. So let's talk about the illusion of influence here. I'm not a big statistic person or data person, but it does matter for the sake of what we're talking about. So I did a bunch of research on this, and there were several studies that all were within 1% or 2% of each other. So this is the general average of it. But 69% of people, when they use social to market their companies or to market their businesses, they focus on follower count or virality, right? How many followers do I have? My profile reach has gone up by 1,000%. Or I have this many likes on this month versus this month, or video views, right? That's a big one that we compare. Video views 7 days ago versus the current 7 days, right? These comparison numbers. However, only 18% of those 69% of people are actually getting or creating any revenue off their social platforms. Why is there such a humongous gap? It's really simple. It's exactly what we're here to learn. One is about visibility. One is about, I care about the vanity aspect of what my platform looks like for me. And the other is about sales and creating genuine connection that create opportunity and conversion. So old model, new model. Old model, we care about virality. New model, we care about connecting first. That then in turn creates opportunity. So big shift. So here's the key difference, definition wise, and this is important for you guys to understand. Sounds like we're, for the most part, many of you already kind of get this concept, but I'm still reiterating it. Social media coach helps you grow, helps you look good. A social media prospecting coach helps you turn social into revenue, period. One is about influence. The other one is about income. One is about how good do I look? How awesome does my platform make me feel? The other one is about, hey, this platform actually put dollars into my bank account, right? So, and I'll tell you guys, I'm fully guilty of this when we open our platforms, when we look at LinkedIn, when we look at Instagram, when we look at Facebook, we want to know, hey, I love seeing that I'm up 27%, or I've recently spent more time on LinkedIn, and I like seeing that my impressions are up 127% week over week. Like, don't get me wrong, those things feel good, but why? Why does that feel good? And it's really because it's a dopamine hit. It's this like quick, oh, this feels really good. But again, in that dopamine hit feeling, that's where you guys have the ability, and we'll have the coaching now to take that new eyeballs or the new volume of inbound to turn it into actual opportunity if you do it properly, right? So that's the big difference. Is it's one thing to feel it, it's another thing to do something with it.
Michelle,
So,
let me just chime in
yeah.
here real quick. So
Sure.
many of you, I'll go to your news feeds, or I'm sorry, your social media channels, and I feel like the Carly Simon song needs to be playing. You're so vain. You know what I'm talking about? You know the song?
Yeah.
You probably think the song is about you, right? Bottom line is, it's not about vanity, guys. It's about connection. And
Yep.
thank you, Michelle. I just want to keep underlining what you have to say, because it just
Yep.
resonates.
Absolutely. So quickly, let's talk about old model versus new model. The old model is posting and hoping for likes or transactions. You can think of that however you want. If you're posting and with the intent of how many likes am I getting and how many video views am I getting, and oh, I hope I get the transaction out of this, you got to ditch it. The new model is creating content that connects first, and then coupling that with a direct messaging or strategic outbound prospecting focus, meaning outbound messaging. We are finding people we want to connect with. We are targeting our hot, ideal clients through the platform, and we are growing that way through connections and through opportunities, not through vanity. That doesn't equal anything other than it makes us feel good temporarily, because it is temporary. The dopamine hit goes away, right? So new model, direct messaging and strategic connections, right? Using your brain and saying, I know this person, but I don't know this person. So how do I go from this relationship and build the bridge between those two people? That is what I'm talking about. Strategic connection-based content and conversations that you initiate. You initiate, right? You're not waiting. Big difference. Many of you have likely posted and said, well, I haven't gotten any messages. Or yeah, when I get a comment, I'll immediately reply or I'll immediately respond back. Okay, that's reactive. I'm talking about active prospecting, proactive outbound reach. Big difference. Okay. So let's talk about why social selling works. And then let's get into the nitty gritty and the actual details of this. So last piece of data that you'll ever get from me, because again, I don't love data, but I know it's important. I found a LinkedIn study on this. Social sellers are 51% more likely to reach their goal or their quota. What does that mean? That means that people that are selling through social, meaning they are outbound prospecting through social, regardless of what platforms they're using, are 51% more likely to get the goal numbers that they're trying to reach. However many transactions your goal is to do this year, how do you get there other than doing what you're already doing? You start social selling, period. It will change your life. That's how simple it is, really. So why does social selling work so well? Because it allows us to skip cold calling, and we're now working and focused on warm relationships that we're already building through the social channels. So I'll give you an example. It's my favorite thing to do whenever I'm on stage or whenever I'm doing a webinar or anything is ask this question. If you have two lists, right? You guys have two 100-person lists, same names on both lists. List number one has first name, last name, and phone number, and that's it. Okay. List number two, first name, last name, phone number, and 3 bullet points next to it about what they've recently done, where they've recently traveled to, something cool that their kid just did, some big life event that they as a family just had, anything, right? Which list are you going to, one, have more success with, and two, which list is going to be more fun for you to work through?
It's obvious.
Super obvious, right? Thank you, Claudia, for chiming in. So it's super obvious, right? So why are you guys still focused on first name, last name, phone number, and that's it? Look them up on social, build a relationship with them through the social channels, and then call them. It's game changing, right? Truly game changing. And that is why social is so powerful, because before I pick up the phone or before I send a message to anyone that I'm prospecting, the first thing I do is look at their content and say, what have they recently posted that I can either relate to or empathize with? That is the first thing my brain says. And that's how I initiate conversation with them. I'm not going to just wait for them to reach out to me, because there's also studies that show that most people, by the time you reach out to them, they've been waiting for a significant period of time for you to reach out to them first, but they finally got the courage to reach out to you on their own. But there was this big gap between when they were ready for you to reach out and when you actually did. Right? So we want to skip that issue. So here's 3 big structured pieces. Sean and I are really tactical, and I promised him I would be probably the most tactical webinar host or webinar guest you guys have ever had is my goal. But let's talk about the 3 pieces here of what we're going to cover. I really hope we have enough time to start to get into number 2. If not, we're just going to have to do another webinar. But first part, strategic content, right? So what does this prospecting thing that you guys are hearing me say all the time, what does that mean, right? Number 1 is the strategic content aspect, meaning you have to shift how you create content first before you go into number 2, which is now we are targeting our outbound prospecting effort. We are targeting who we want to message, who we want to create relationships with, because our content feeds that, right? Meaning our content serves as the foundation to what we then get to talk about when we prospect. Let me give you an example. Okay. Let's say Sean posted in his stories that he just recently ran a half marathon and his goal is to run 1,000 miles this year, right? This was a big one I saw at the start of this year. I saw a bunch of people post screenshots of like their Garmin app with how many miles they ran in the year of 2024. And of course, naturally in my brain, I'm like, hold on, how many miles did I run? Because I'm competitive, right? But let's say that Sean posted something about that in his stories. Let's say Sean doesn't know who I am. I'm a completely cold message to Sean. Okay. So I send him a message and I say, Sean, this is awesome. I actually do my long runs on Sunday. I PR'd my zone 2 on Sunday. What are you training for? What's the first thing you're going to do, Sean, when you get a message like that?
No, I'm going to respond. Well, first, I'm going to feel good about my post. You're validating my life in essence, and I'm going to respond.
Why are you responding?
Because you made me feel good.
Okay. What's the next thing you're doing? So you're going to respond to me, but intuitively, what are you likely going to do? Because you don't know who I am, right? So you got this random message.
And
Yep.
I just got a
Check
message from
you
you.
out.
I probably do a little research on who you are and why you're reaching out to me, I guess. Am I on the right
Yep.
track here?
Yep, you absolutely are. Claudia, I think you might have just said it, right? Click on my profile and look at who I am. That's what you're going to do. You're
Well, I would start
intuitive.
asking questions.
Yeah, questions is great, which is good, right? That means the conversation is going to be going. But the first thing psychologically, guys, I'm a big psychology nerd. I actually have a degree in it. You wouldn't think that looking at me, but I promise it's actually a secret love affair of mine. Is understanding how our brains work and why they do the things that they do. So it's important because what you're going to do is you're going to click on my profile and be like, who is this? Right? So if I didn't post about running anywhere in my content, if I didn't talk about it anywhere, if there's not a single piece of content that alludes to my running, am I who I say I am? Right? So this is really important. I was waiting for some head nods from all of you guys on camera, and everyone was like looking at me and they're like, not sure. I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to mess up that answer. I promise there's no wrong answers here, right? We're all learning together. But am I who I say I am? Right? So Sean, you're intuitively going to click on my profile and be like, who is this girl that randomly sent me a message? And if you can't look at my content and see that I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I have a 3.5-year-old, I love to run, I'm a former competitive swimmer, swam for 20 plus years, swam for Rutgers for all my East Coast people. I am a former competitive CrossFitter. I competed for about 6 years before tearing a rotator cuff and retiring. And for me, like, you're going to see all of that stuff in my content, but here's why that's important, because that becomes the foundation of the conversations that I have when I am prospecting. It is the thread of how I create connection with the targeted prospects that I'm focused on in phase 2 of this process. So if I'm going to be talking about it when I'm trying to build a relationship with someone and it's not in my content, that bond is broken. Anybody ever seen Avatar, the movie? Right? You know, like the little Avatarians, right? They have the braids. And I think in the first one, it's like flying like dinosaurs. And then in the second one, it's like the swimming ones, right? But the Avatar people have to bond with these creatures through their tail, and it threads together. It literally creates like a bond, and then it's tight, right? If I don't post about running anywhere, I don't talk about my athletic background in any capacity in any of my socials anywhere, that bond that I might have been able to create with Sean, because Sean is saying, oh yeah, I want to respond to that because you saw me, you're affirming me, that bond is now gone. This is why I can't or couldn't start this webinar with just teaching you how to prospect right out of the gate, because you really have to understand that your content has to become the foundation of how we prospect. What we post about in our content literally is and becomes the bullet points that we get to talk about when we're prospecting with someone, right? No, you do not have 2 profiles. You have one account, one business account. That is it. Your business account is personal and professional all in one, right? Personal content and professional content all in one. Okay. Content first, targeted outbound prospecting is the second phase. Third phase is systematized follow-up, right? I call it my opportunity tracker in my world, but understanding how to track your outbound effort so that you know, is this working or is it not? Now, if it's not working, it's because you didn't work the system. That's it, like point blank, right? So if someone calls me and says, Michelle, I'm putting time and effort into this and I haven't seen any ROI yet. Okay, let me see your tracker. How many messages have you sent? How many conversations have you tried to initiate? How many DMs have you sent? Right? And then it becomes an issue of our data isn't supporting the sales funnel that we're trying to create through our platform. The reality is all of you guys are in sales, right? You have to have a systematized follow-up plan in order to create result, right? All right, let's talk about strategic content. Now, I teach 4 pillars of content in my coaching, and all we're going to have time to talk about today is number 1, which is value series. Value series is
strategic.
I'll get rid of that. Sorry about that.
Okay.
There we go.
Thank you. I was like, I don't know who it is, but I hear it. Okay, so strategic content, right? Value series is pillar number 1. There are 4 pillars that I teach as far as what you should be producing content-wise on a monthly basis. Value series is my favorite of all 4. It is also where we get to be super, super valuable and educational, which is important to all of you, I imagine, right? Educating your audience, educating your clients. But this is how we do it in a way that actually creates connection first. Doesn't lead with transaction mindset, it leads with connection mindset, right? So that this is where we see our shift. So value series is one of the four. It is the most important of the four, and it is definitely and should most likely be the funnest of the four for all of you to create. So let's talk about what this looks like. Very simple Venn diagram. Many of you guys have seen these in high school, college, or whatever your profession was, maybe before you got into real estate. Very simple. We've all seen one. On the left-hand side of this, you see the word passions. Passions, I want you guys to write down in your notes. If you are a note taker, please write down 3 things that you enjoy doing outside of work. Family is not allowed to be one of them, and work is not allowed to be one of them. Right. And I know we all love our family. Trust me, I am very happily married, have a 3.5-year-old. I love my family time. Just this morning, my mom and dad actually bought my son for his birthday season tickets to Dollywood. If any of you guys have ever been to Dollywood, with the water park next to it. So like, yes, family is definitely really important to me. But for the sake of this particular conversation, I want you guys to leave that out. And we're also going to leave work out. Right? So you have a passion for real estate. Yes, I know that, but that's not going to go on this list. So write out 3 things you enjoy doing outside of work. Baking, cooking, wine. I have a client who's doing a series on bourbon right now. Really, really fun for him. I just got a video series back from a client last Friday on mixology. He likes making cocktails and creating fun, unique, creative ones with his wife in his kitchen, and they just like make up names for him. Right. So really fun thing. I have a client who did a series on archaeology, which was wild. I had never I didn't even really know what that, I obviously I know what archaeology is, but I had never heard anybody say that they have a passion for archaeology. So it was really cool to hear that. Cigars was a big one. I have a real estate agent in Phoenix actually that I was working with on this. He goes to cigar lounges a lot. So he's like, can I do one on that? I'm like, absolutely. Why not? Fishing is obviously a big one. Any form of sports, soccer, baseball, you name it, all of those would count. Travel is a big one. I have a client who really loves international travel specifically because she's a foodie. She likes going and trying different unique foods from different countries, part of what she loves to do. Right? So you have your own 3. We are all our own individual, beautiful people, which is why this is such a fun exercise. So write down the 3 things that make you you outside of work. When you list out each of those 3 things, you don't need to do this right now for sake of time, but I do want you to write out 3 to 4 sentences attached to each one of those about why you love said thing. So if you love cooking or baking, right? Why do you love cooking? For me, I love hosting parties. I love having a ton of people in my house. It just makes me feel warm and fuzzy. So there's a reason for that, right? Like I didn't grow up with a big family. I grew up with one sister and hardly any of family that lived nearby. So now that I'm a little bit older, now that I have my own family, I want everyone in my house. I always want to have people around. Like I love that environment. And I love cooking. I love serving, right? I'm a God person, so I'm a big serve your people person. So for me, I love worship and I love being able to have people over and serve them through food, right? So that's when I write out, I like hosting parties. You guys just heard all of the detail that go into why I love hosting parties. So I really want you to list out 3 to 4 sentences about why you love said thing. So Chrissy, if you're saying, I love restaurants, Rhett says Indiana Jones. I love that. Write out why. Get detailed, get specific. It is important. You'll see why when we get to the exercise that I'm going to give you here shortly. Now, on the other side, so you're going to have 3 pain points that you solve on a regular basis for your clients. Now, that is why I wrote the word expertise, right? So your expertise as a real estate agent is your ability to solve problems. You have the solution to problems that people have, right? Or you find them, right? So if your client is in a unique situation and you don't know the answer, my guess is that you guys all try to go figure out how to help them. So your expertise is your ability to overcome these pain points. So I want you to list out 3 things that you are really good at overcoming, pain points that you help people solve or that you have the solution to. Now, if you're going to say Indiana Jones, I'm sorry, not Indiana Jones. I just saw Rhett's message pop up on my screen again. He said, Indiana Jones is someone that loves archaeology, not a passion of mine. Hilarious. Thank you for the distraction there. But when you're listing these out, right, I want you to think about this. Here's an example. If you're going to say DTI, right, which is a big one. A lot of people will say the issues with their buyers or sellers, right? Is we got DTI issues, mostly buyers on the DTI conversation. But there's a lot of different types of buyers out there in this world that have or might have DTI issues. Example, I have two different clients that I actually ironically talked to on the same day, which was not planned. But one of them said DTI, and she specializes in working with single moms or single spouses that are getting child support, right? So that creates a different DTI issue. Then client number 2, who I met with, said DTI, and he in particular serves families that are trying to either decide whether to sell their current home to buy the bigger home, or to actually keep it and hold it and turn it into an investment property or a rental, and use or either bridge loan from the investment property into the bigger home, or be able to afford to just carry both, right? That's a different DTI issue than DTI for person number 1. So you guys can see why just saying the word DTI is not enough. So I want you guys to write down the pain point, 3 to 4 sentences explaining, telling a story, both of those things. Explain the pain point, tell a story, because as you tell the story, you'll essentially be explaining the pain point at the same time. They're going to happen together, right? So if you have a specific pain point, tell a story, and naturally the explanation will come out of that. And then the intersection of those two things is what you see in the center. That is where our content is born. What am I talking about? I'm saying we are going to use ChatGPT, and we are going to build a value series by combining these two things. Now, I have a lot of people who like to do this on my webinars with me. Like, they'll actually have ChatGPT up and have another tab open, and they'll kind of go through this with me. If you want to do that, feel free to do so, but also try not to lose where I'm at in this, right? So I want you guys to go do this exercise, but I also want you to stay with me. So what is a value series tactically? Number 1 is it's one topic for the entire month that you will break into 5 different parts or 5 different sub questions. So we're going to create one series as a whole by combining one of our passions that we wrote down and one of our pain points that we wrote down. And by doing this, you'll see what the prompt looks like in ChatGPT here on the next slide, because I put it in here for you. But you will get 5 parts back. It will give you part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. You obviously have to ask ChatGPT to do this correctly. So again, that's why the prompt I have is in here for you. Now, why is this value series so important? Because this is where you build your credibility, and this is where you get to educate. This is where you get to add value. This is where you get to actually be this really intelligent, experienced real estate agent, but do it from a place of connection first, not transaction first. Again, mindset shift here, major mindset shift for all of you. So we're going to use ChatGPT to do this. Here is the prompt. Don't try to write this down verbatim from what you see in here. For those of you guys taking pictures, take a picture of this if you want. But I want you to listen to how I articulate this more importantly. So you will create an analogy in ChatGPT, and how do you do that? You are going to ask it to help you by combining a passion and combining a pain point. So you're going to say, can you create an analogy between someone's love of whatever thing? In this case, this example, he loves horses. He owns a 40-acre horse farm. His wife runs a boarding facility on the property. It's a really cool gentleman. So can you create an analogy between someone who loves horses, and then explain? So you can see the whole explanation there in detail. Then most important part in the center of this, notice I made it an uppercase and. That is on purpose. You don't have to when you're doing this. This is more so for me to make sure you guys see it. But you need a transition. So you need to say, and how a mortgage professional, in this case, this gentleman is a mortgage guy. Your guys's will say real estate agent, and how a real estate agent who is, and then explain your pain point, right? So can you create an analogy between someone's love of insert passion and a real estate agent whose ideal client's pain point is explain pain point, right? So if you took notes on this somewhere else, you can just copy and paste your 3 to 4 sentences you wrote into it. Now, most important part of this entire prompt is at the very end, very last sentence. We are going to make a 5-part series out of this. Don't forget to put that in there, because if you don't and you hit enter, you're just going to get an analogy. You're not going to get 5 parts. We want the 5 parts to come back. By the way, Eric Christians, you're on camera and I can see you. One of my very closest girlfriends in business. She has been on my podcast several times. She is a very, very killer loan officer in Fargo, North Dakota. Her name is Kayla Calendar. If you don't know who she is, you need to look her up. She's incredible. But
She's
I
a
just had
friend of mine. That's awesome.
oh my God. I love that.
Yeah.
I just talked to her last week. We hosted a webinar for the MBA together last week and it was really, really fun. But I saw your Fargo, North Dakota pop up on my screen and I'm like, wait, Kayla. So
Yeah.
sorry for but thank you for being here, Eric. Okay, so last part, don't forget that we are going to make a 5-part series out of this. That is so important because when you click it and when you hit enter, ChatGPT will spit out 5 parts for you. So it will create a title. It will give you part 1. It will give you part 2. And you'll notice when you are building it that it will give you an analogy. It will give you a housing tie-in and it will give you a key message. You don't need to do anything with this yet. You just need to get the 5 parts. The nice thing about it too is that it creates a title for the series that has that play on words with the passion coming in and being a part of the analogy that we're talking about. So this particular example is a different one than the one on the previous screen. This was a real estate client of mine who lives in Fairbanks, Alaska. He's a big fly fisher, loves being out on the water. And so his series name was Casting the Line. And he recorded all 5 of these videos in a boat on the water. It was epic. He did such a good job with it. But this is how this will look when you actually enter on the prompt here. So don't forget that we are going to make a 5-part series at the end. You'll get 5 parts back. Important. Each of these 5 parts, we now have to take the next step and turn it into a video script. For sake of time, I don't have the time to teach you how to create that video script, but yes, that is something that I teach in my coaching and it's all built out. So you just plug into it and it's already built. And the best part about these is where you record these 5 videos will be in the element of whatever the passion is. So my mixology example that I gave you guys, I just got his videos back last week to review. And he's in his kitchen. He has all of his cocktail mixers out. He has all of his like paraphernalia, if you will, to be able to make these fun cocktails, all different types of glasses that he likes to put them in if it's a martini versus if it's bourbon, you know, whatever, or an old fashioned type style. So it's really exciting. It should be exciting for you. This series on Casting the Line, he is in a boat. I have a client who's doing a series on soccer right now. He's actually played professional soccer as a goalie. So his entire series, he's literally out on the soccer field in the element, right? So that's what we want. So let's talk about why these are so important. And let me make sure my Siri turns off. Can you guys still hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. My Siri decided it wanted to pop up and I was like, go away. Okay, so why are these so important? First and foremost, many of you unfortunately fall into the category of you get on video and you say the same thing as every other real estate agent that's out there. Not because you're trying to do that, but because in reality, you don't know what to create content around, or you feel like it's a valuable conversation that you want to have. And I agree, there are lots of things that you guys get on video and talk about that are so valuable. But again, we're doing it in a way that doesn't create connection first. We're doing it in a way that is transaction based or transaction bias, if you will. So the value series concept as a whole is designed to help you really ditch these talking head videos where you're sitting at your desk or you're sitting outside with your phone in your face, just talking to it and recording a video and posting it, right? We have to get away from that. And it also avoids you just being more of white noise to the platform, meaning you're saying more of the same thing that everybody else is saying. The best example I can give you was after the Fed cut announcement. If you guys all remember that not too long ago, I actually had to turn my Instagram notifications off because I woke up the next morning and I swear I saw 150 videos that all said the exact same thing within a matter of an hour, right? It was just everybody saying the same thing. So how do we get outside of or create a differentiator? And this is how, or this is why the value series is so impactful. Now, these videos, post them everywhere. Instagram, your personal Facebook. Notice I didn't say business Facebook. I said personal Facebook. YouTube Shorts is a great, great place for these videos. If you're not using YouTube Shorts, it doesn't take you any time other than to just copy and post it in there just like you would on Instagram. Allow the platform to work for you behind the scenes, even if you don't have a YouTube strategy. And to be honest with you guys, I don't really have a YouTube strategy, but I've gotten business off of YouTube just by creating these shorts that I'm already posting on Instagram and LinkedIn anyway, and I'm using them there. So LinkedIn is also a good one. This is a massive way to differentiate yourself on LinkedIn. Most of you guys are likely using LinkedIn in some capacity, and it's very, very business heavy and it's boring, right? I open LinkedIn and it's the same thing every day. And so being able to really break up the noise is what this value series is going to really help you do. Now, incorporating your passions does several things. 3 specific ones that I have found psychologically for my clients. First and foremost is putting you in your element makes you sound more confident. I, as the consumer of your content, will feel your energy and will feel that you are more confident in the actual execution of the video because you are in an element that you feel good in, right? I have a client who'd never done a video in her life. She rides a Harley and she loves it. And I said, great, your first series, we're going to do talking about Harleys and riding your motorcycle. All 5 of the videos, she was on the back of her Harley. She actually got a $30 tripod on Amazon and used her iPad as her teleprompter instead of her phone. So the words were a little bit bigger, kind of genius, honestly. But she's sitting on the back of her Harley. And when she sent me the videos, I was like, you would never in a million years realize or know that this was your first video you ever recorded in your life as a business professional, because you just crushed those, right? And why? Because I put her in her element. I got her out of this weird, I'm sitting at my desk with a camera in my face feeling, put her in an element that gave her confidence. Game changer. Number 2, keeps you wanting to do them, right? So if you're struggling with creating video content, or you have an idea and you do one video and then you're like, well, I don't know what my next video is going to be, right? This solves that problem, because everything that you enjoy doing outside of work, guess what? It's 1 full month worth of content, if not longer, right? If you're posting every other day, this one series is going to last you 6 weeks, which somebody do the math for me, but instead of 12 series a month, it's more like what, 9 for the year. So you guys all have 9 things that you enjoy doing outside of work. And I guarantee that, because if you say you don't, I could pull them out of you by having a one-on-one conversation with you. Guarantee it. Right? So Austin, are you in Arizona? Austin Parrish? All right, I see your Sun Devil on you. Oh, he's trying to unmute himself.
Yes. Yep. I'm in Arizona.
Okay. So I lived in Mesa for 6.5 years. I lived in Ahwatukee for about 1.5 years before that. So I'm very familiar. My husband graduated from ASU, so we're big fans here personally. But ASU is a great example of how you can do this, right? Because that would be an example of, like, obviously, I assume you love sports in some capacity. I don't know what sport, but I'd imagine so. And so being able to use that as one idea for a series. And then every month after that, you have a different passion, you bring it in. And the other thing too is you can use one passion multiple times. You don't have to use it one time, right? Because you can use a different pain point to couple it with a passion that you're reusing, right? So just something to think about there. And then the third thing, the most important thing, is that your audience will connect with you first, right? So this content is designed to create this connection that doesn't exist right now in your content. And you're still adding value, you're still educating, you're doing all the things you want to do, but you're connecting first. You're not creating a desire, or you're not creating it with the intention of creating a transaction. You're creating it with the intention of creating connection first. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, why or how does this relate to prospecting? And then we're going to shift quickly into this so we can get through some of it. So how does this relate to prospecting? The passions you talk about create the conversations that you're going to be having, right? Because the things you post about in your content, again, you guys remember the example I used when I was talking about Sean. Am I who I say I am? Ask yourself that question. If I look at your social right now, I see 3 people on my screen aside from Sean. I see Eric, I see Claudia, and Austin. If I go to your 3 profiles right now, are you who you say you are? Well, I don't know, right? Without looking at them. But you have to ask yourself that question. And sometimes it's a hard question to ask or answer, because we don't know until we really dissect that and answer that. Number 2, when you're starting with conversations with people in this prospecting phase where you are intentionally sending a message to someone that you do not know, look at your profile, or look at their profile, excuse me, and find something that they've posted about. Find something that you can connect with and start there. And again, that ties back into, are you who you say you are? Because they're going to click on your profile and be like, do I like this person? Do I want to know this person, or do I not? Right? Third thing, it takes the salesiness out of initiating new conversations. How many people would say that you guys have gotten a slimy car salesman DM where you can tell that someone's trying to sell you something, whether it's on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of them, right?
Every day.
I get them every single day, and it is so annoying. On LinkedIn, I actually have started messing with people a little bit on LinkedIn, and I'll respond back and be like, how many people did you copy and paste that to? and I'll just get in this good riff back and forth with them, because the reality is I can coach them through that and help them solve that problem. Now I don't necessarily want to coach all of those people that are sending me those types of messages, but the reality is that there's a coaching moment there for me to be able to help them, because if you're copy and pasting every single message you send to other people and hoping that it's going to stick, the amount of time, I would rather you send 20 messages instead of 100 and take the time to look at someone's profile and review it and find a connector or find some form of connection with them and talk about that. Because you do 20 messages, you do 100 messages. 100 is all cold bump, copy paste. 20 and you're finding connection first. I 1000% guarantee you will get a better response rate on the 20, and you'll have better, more genuine, authentic conversations on that side than you ever would on the copy paste side. Right? Okay, let's talk about targeted engagement very, very quickly. I have to rush through this for sake of time. You guys are going to have to harp on Sean to have me back for another webinar if you guys want to keep going through this. But the other one too is Heather. I saw Heather in the chat box say she's in Flagstaff, Arizona. I got married in Munns Park. Anybody that's in Arizona, I got married in Munns Park, just south of Flagstaff. It's one of my favorite places in the world. So fun fact. Targeted engagement though. So commenting and DMing. Commenting is commenting on content on people's feeds, right? Let's be super clear. For those of you guys who are a little bit unfamiliar with this, feed content is the stuff when I look at your profile, it's all the things you've posted, right? So commenting on feed content is one part of prospecting. The second part is DMing high value prospects, meaning you are sending one-on-one direct messages to people that are considered high value prospects for you, right? So in my world, I have two different days of prospecting when we build this out. We have ROI day and we have breadcrumbing day. ROI day is going direct to someone one-to-one, aka you're DMing them. Breadcrumbing day is we're going one-to-many, which is we're commenting on feed content with the intention of creating visibility for ourselves to create this desire for people to want to come look at our content, right? So when you say you want to grow your following, okay, great. Let's grow your following, but we got to breadcrumb our way there, right? Breadcrumbing, if you guys are familiar with the word, visualize this in your mind. Imagine like multiple little breadcrumbs and the mouse is following it to get to the whatever the prize is at the end of the little line of breadcrumbs. That's what breadcrumbing does on social when you prospect through this way, right? You gain visibility over a long sustained period of time and you create an influx of people that are looking at your platform. But here's the key, and I have the word targeted in here for a reason. When you prospect this way through my breadcrumbing process, you are not just growing to grow, because anybody can just go buy followers. If that's what you really want, just go buy them for 20 bucks. But when you do this properly, you're growing in a hyper local way in the areas that you guys actually sell real estate and want to sell real estate. I would rather you grow in a hyper local way that actually generates the right eyeballs versus I'm just growing to grow, right? So breadcrumbing is very intentional and very specific to what and who we're talking to. I had to put this in here because this has all happened within the last month and a half, except for the one on the very bottom. These two are two different real estate clients of mine. This one was just the other day, but one of my real estate agents, she's in Lake Hartwell, Georgia. If you guys want to look her up, her name is Stephanie Walker. She is killing it through my process. But the thing about this that I love is she generated a $1.3 million investment lake property that is now under contract already. And she had another person reach out asking to buy a $200,000 to $300,000 lake lot. She lives on Lake Hartwell. It's a very popular Airbnb touristy type second home area. The other one on this side, she did a God moment, which is one of the other 4 pillars that I talk about. And she had someone who went to high school with her reach out, who she hasn't spoken to in 30 years, reach out and say she was ready to buy a house in that area. And I've since heard from her, he is under contract with her, all because of this content that we're talking about, where we're leading with connection first, focused on transaction second. So just a huge win for several of my real estate clients here. Hey, Sean, can you turn that audio off if you can hear it?
I'm on it.
Thank you so much. I will end here. And actually, for sake of time, I don't really have time to go through this because I'm getting some messages on something. So I want to make sure I answer these questions, but I'll just leave this here with you. And I won't go through all of the logistics of it for sake of time, but I'll tell you ROI day is one-to-one, right? So ROI day means we're going one-to-one. We're sending a direct message on this day. Usually ROI day when I build trackers for clients is on Monday. Okay. I'll just say it that way. Breadcrumbing days are all of the other days of the week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then a little bit of Friday, but I left Friday off on purpose for sake of context here. So what breadcrumbing days are, is our job is to create awareness and to be everywhere in our hyper local areas. So you have very specific categories that you are focused on in those days. And you're commenting on content instead of sending a one-to-one message, right? So growing in a hyper local way, commenting on feed content creates visibility, generates incoming followers. ROI day is one-to-one. I'm sending a direct message to Sean, trying to create a relationship with Sean. I don't really care about commenting on his feed content. I'm going direct to him. How we do that is through something called leverage. Leverage is my favorite word in the English dictionary. The fastest and my Michelle Berman Michael definition of leverage is building a bridge between someone you already have a relationship with and someone you don't. And that's what leverage means. We're creating leverage through a relationship that we already have and building a new relationship with someone that we don't through that person. If you guys ever heard in your sales training, ever heard sell through them, right? That's what this means. That's an example of it. Okay, homework. 3 things that I want you guys to do right now today after you get off this webinar with me. Number 1, audit your content. Are you who you say you are, right? And are you combining your passions with your pain points, or are you not? I'm going to take a gander to say that probably 97% of you guys are not doing that. Number 2, engage with your content, or I'm sorry, engage with intent, not with your content. Focus specifically on who you want to be talking to and map it out. Have a plan in your mind. Who should I be talking to, and build it, right? I have a 5-day tracker that I help clients build out. Each of the 5 days of the week, we have one very specific type of person or audience that we're trying to get after. If your ideal client is first-time home buyers that are probably either just about to get married or about to have their first baby, what are they connecting with on social? What are those people using, or I'm sorry, consuming, not using? What are those people consuming on social, and how do you go to that? Right? That's where we talk about, or that's what we will talk about in the prospecting piece more specifically. Third thing is that you guys can create ROI right now here today, starting after this call. And here's how. And write this down, please, guys. Send one message every single day to someone that you do not know through someone you do know. Who do you know in your life and in your business, in your career, in your spheres that you can use as a lever or as leverage, right? Meaning, if I name drop this person, if I name drop Sean to build a relationship with somebody else, would Sean speak highly of me or not, right? I obviously need to make sure that he would before I would use his name to name drop. And you guys need to make sure you work through that and ask yourself those questions too. If you're going to name drop someone, you better have a good relationship with them, right? But the homework assignment is send one message every single day to someone that you do not know through leverage, through someone that you have a relationship with already. If you do that, your business will look wildly different at the end of one full year. I 100% guarantee it. Okay. And then
if you didn't write that down, you guys, come on. If you didn't write that down, do it now. Take action. That is a huge point. Big time point. A day. Think of the compounding effects of that, guys. If you did it every single day,
every day,
350 a year. Come on, guys.
Dang.
Go ahead.
It's one message, guys. I mean, you guys could do this in the line at Starbucks when you all go get coffee this afternoon, right? Like, that's how fast this can be. Who are your levers? Who are the big rocks in your life that you know that you could name drop confidently to build a new relationship with someone else? You got to think through it. It's not fast, right? You have to sit and you have to think through it. You have to understand that process. But I will say, I've gotten several private messages and a handful of people who have commented in the chat already. How do you get in contact with me? How do you get on my calendar to talk about working with me? This QR code will take you directly to my calendar where you'll be able to book a call with me. We will talk about my program. I do have a private coaching program. It is my favorite. We will work one-on-one together. You'll work through the private coaching, as well as you'll get my course, which is Beyond the Method. It's all sold together on purpose because I need you guys to be able to have the content to go back to. So it's really important. But if you'd like to schedule a call with me to discuss my private coaching, that QR code will take you there. We'll see if it's a good fit. If not, again, at the very least, I hope you guys have taken a ton of this and are able to actually go and execute on this right away.
Love
Awesome.
it. Guys, scan that QR code if you haven't already. Get on Michelle's calendar. No cost, no obligation. Just have a talk with her about how you can actually prospect and lead generate through your social channels. Guys, I know you're on social. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Are you doing it on purpose? Are you creating opportunities or are you just creating content? There is no plausible ROI on a like, a share, a comment. Guys, what Michelle is talking about is how you're going to connect with people to deepen a relationship to earn their business. No doubt about that. If it's not their business, that maybe they don't have an immediate need, I'll bet they know somebody who does have an immediate need. And when you deepen that relationship, they're going to reach out to you. Right? Let's face it. Would you rather have 100 internet leads or one solid referral? I'd much rather have one solid referral. Somebody's already pre-sold. And that's what Michelle is talking about, to organically build your influence on social. Now, one of the things, Michelle, that stands out to me in your methodology is this idea of like reverse prospecting, meaning you don't have to be the creator of all content. They're creating content every single day. And when you pay attention and you're asking questions about their content, what that does is it gets you an opportunity. Am I right, Michelle?
1000%. And my in a different session, a different keynote that I do, I talk about your primary skill and what is your primary skill. And a lot of that comes from our previous experience in our life that we have had over, I'll be 35 in June. I've lived 35 years of life. And what my primary skill is, and it took a long time for me to really understand it, but is reverse engineering. So my ability to reverse engineer the outcome and create a plan for someone to get back to that same outcome. And so for you to say reverse prospect, I mean, it's so spot on, John. That's brilliant of you to say. And it's honest, I wrote it down because I was like, wait, hold on. But that's really what it is instead of fighting this uphill battle of trying to climb Mount Everest without any experience of how do I get to the summit, you have the ability to get and shorten that distance so much just by focusing on what have they already posted that you can then connect to, and you don't have to post anything every single day, right? Now, yes, do you need to have content on your grid? 1000%, duh, right? You have to have content in order to answer the question of are you who you say you are? But the reality is my job and my hope for you is to take the stress off of I have to be creating content every single day, all the time. No, you don't. No, you don't. I post every other day, every 3 days. But when I do post, it has an intent. It's very specific to what I'm really trying to do. And most importantly, it's designed to connect more than anything else, because connection will win over any of it. Right? So no, you do not have to post content every single day. And if you think that, or someone told you that, they're wrong.
All right, gang. So real quick, Michelle, you were so kind the last time we launched Accelerated Breakthrough Live to step in and in a live format, really teach session 8, which is all about social media. While this program covers everything that you need to know to increase your production, I mean, everything from neurolinguistic programming, business planning methodology, social media strategy, lead generation strategy for listings and buyers, conversion strategies, all that stuff is included in a 16-week course. Michelle has actually been teaching session number 8 for us here at Icon because she is the expert, in my opinion. I always want to surround myself with people much smarter than I am. And Michelle is that for me in the social media world. Michelle, I'm going to beg you again to do session number 8 here in a couple of months for us.
Consider it done.
We're launching that program live again on April 17th, I believe, right? So I know you want more, Michelle. Scan her QR code, get on her schedule. Engage in Accelerated Breakthrough, guys. 16 weeks of coaching and training. Guys, give me 4 months, an hour a week with you. We're going to double your production. No doubt about that. And Michelle's going to help. No doubt about it. So
guys,
again,
I will say I've seen the inside of this with Sean, and I've seen the workbooks he puts together for all of this. And, I've been teaching and speaking and really coaching in the real estate and mortgage community for 10 years now. I don't know anyone that takes as much time and effort to put into that type of training for you guys. And I don't say that just to say that. Like, Sean did not even know I was about to say that. But I see it, right? I go to all these events, I speak at these big conferences, and I am like, did you guys even plan anything for there's a lot of that in the world, right? So you guys are very lucky to have someone that takes so much time out of his own day to create workbooks and things to make sure that there is success and very, very tactical outcomes. And I believe my workbook is already made for session 8 now, right? I don't have to make that again, do I?
No, you don't. It's all there. And guys, it is fantastic content. There's no doubt about that. So
Okay.
give us 4 months. We're going to at least double your production, guys. It's $347 a day. In fact, if you're on the Zoom with us, could you just post that QR code just real quick? Go ahead and share your screen, Dave. Put that up there because I want you to have more of Michelle, and I want to strengthen your foundation by improving your knowledge, your skills, your mindset, your habits, guys. Bottom line is your business, your production, your net income and net worth. It's going to grow to the extent that you personally grow. So Dave, you can throw that QR code up there, and or here, I'll just do this. I'm going to go ahead and post my direct cell phone number to the chat just real quick.
All right, well, get yourself ready. And
So there's my direct cell phone number, guys. Just drop me a text. Let's get on a phone call for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. We'll solve at least one major problem you have. I'll answer any questions you might have about Michelle and her programs, as well as direct you to her scheduling link. At the same time, let's talk about accelerated breakthrough. I think it's something that will undoubtedly help you achieve that breakthrough that you want in your life, the breakthrough to a higher level of income, a better lifestyle, more time with your loved ones, building a scalable business. That's what I want to see happen. I know that's what you want to see happen. Yet first you make the choice, then the choice makes you. The choice I want you to make is drop me a direct text right now. You and I'll figure out some time to get on the phone. Get on Michelle's calendar too. Michelle, go ahead and share your screen with that QR code one more time.
You got it.
Just in case they missed it. Yet get on Michelle's schedule, guys. We're here with the stepping stones already laid out. Put your left foot here, your right foot there. Don't go wander off in the forest. Just let us help you. That's all I'm asking. All right, guys, we do this all the time. Pay attention to your email inbox. Look for our next webinars that are coming up. We got a huge rollout coming up for webinars for you guys to plug in, to just get access to the information that you need to apply to your current strategy and tactic to just crush it with your real estate career. Guys, let's lock arms. Let's all make that happen. Until we do this again next time, just be on purpose, be productive, be powerful. Michelle, I am so grateful for you and your investment of time. You brought it today, man, and you do it every single time. So let's do it again,
Appreciate it.
Michelle.
Bye, guys. Thanks for having me.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Where Coco's had her accidents.